One of the greatest ever UCL semis took place yesterday. Meanwhile, the Eredivisie is facing a league-breaking crisis. Real Madrid's genius transfer strategy is set to unfold. And could this MLS club be forced to relocate to a separate country? This is DMAC Daily. Well, that entirely went as predicted, didn't it just? Look, last night we saw the very best that attacking football had to offer in like the entire history of the sport. It was that special. So there was always going to be a UCL hangover of sort in the other semi-final first leg, especially considering that these two clubs have a tendency to lean more into the pragmatic side. Now, before the Atletico fans crash out about this notion that they are a Haramball team, chill out. I can somewhat agree that the discourse surrounding Atleti is misguided at times. Like, Simeone's teams don't just park the bus. But let's be honest, no one was expecting goals galore today. I certainly wasn't. And the inevitable result matched the pre-game prediction. A 1-1 draw, 0 open play goals, with both sides slotting home from 12 yards. Now, that's not to suggest that this game wasn't entertaining. Quite the opposite. It was a tense semi-final. The atmosphere looked electric on the pitch. There were chances aplenty. Atletico took this match to Arsenal, and David Raya delivered another exemplary performance in goal to ensure Arsenal's unbeaten record in the UCL remains intact. Just quietly, they're only 2 games off of invincible status in the Champions League. It's never been done before, and if they pulled it off, we might not hear the end of it. But focusing on this match, and it would be controversial to say the least. The most talked about person on the pitch wouldn't be a player from either side really, but rather the referee. Now, the first penalty, I don't think anyone's debating the merit of. Hanko with a silly challenge on Gyökeres in the first half. Stonewall for me, and he made no mistake. In that same half, Madueke came close from distance. Alvarez tested the keeper, and then after the break, he almost scored a screamer free kick. His technique is top, by the way. By then, the momentum had really swung in Atleti's favor. Lookman and Griezmann with big chances. But then comes the first controversial moment. Llorente hits a volley into the outstretched arm of Ben White. VAR deliberated penalty. Now, if this incident occurred in any competition outside of UEFA, this almost certainly wouldn't be given as a penalty. But we know the guidelines from UEFA are very strict. Just ask Alphonso Davies. I thought that was an even more harsh call. Now, I'm no fan of the rule, but at least it's being applied universally in this instance. Like, if it wasn't given, then UEFA's credibility would have been in the gutter. Anyways, Alvarez slotted home the equalizer, becoming the first player to hit double digits in a single campaign, and it would remain a highly competitive contest for the remainder of the match. Griezmann, who was brilliant all game, hit the woodwork. Lookman also missed another big chance, and then the major talking point unfolded. Another Hanko howler, it appeared, recklessly diving in on Eze, with the referee pointing to the spot for a third time. However, drama then ensued as VAR remained skeptical of the on-field ruling and suggested the referee take a look himself, to which he overturns the initial decision. Now, I have a lot of thoughts here. For starters, I think the contact was minimal. Hanko was so naive to dive in once again, but the contact is minuscule at best here. If the referee didn't initially point to the spot, I'd have no complaints, but simultaneously, I'm not sure the angles presented here indicate clear and obvious error to overturn the initial decision. So I can sympathize to a degree with the Arsenal fans who feel aggrieved at the call. Deep down, the Arsenal hater from within is celebrating, but from an objective standpoint, yeah, it's definitely a big call. Truth be told, I don't think either of these two controversial moments were penalties, but I'm done hyper-focusing on subjective decisions. This is part and parcel of the game. 10, 20 years down the line, this same type of discourse will be taking place. But as for the matchup, it's all square heading into the Emirates second leg. Arsenal will definitely be confident. They beat this lot 4-0 earlier in the season at the same venue. Granted, Atletico are a much stronger side in April of 2026. Arsenal also can't afford to rest key players this weekend with the title at stake, so less preparation for the Gunners for leg 2. Atletico, on the other hand, are just going to bench their entire starting 11 in La Liga. So for me, I think it could be a banger second leg. Probably not to the same degree of Bayern PSG, but I don't think it'll be Haramball either, just quietly. Last point I want to make is on Antoine Griezmann. What a footballer, man. This guy is going to destroy MLS. He's still absolutely world class on his day. Such a unique player of the last 10 to 15 years. So adaptable and intelligent. Deservedly awarded man of the match in his final outing at the Metropolitano. Staying in the capital of Spain, and Atletico's neighbours, Real Madrid, are set to splash the cash this summer, but in a rather unique manner. Now, we all know just how effective La Masia has been over the years for Barca's first team. When it comes to integrating academy talent into the first team at the elite level, Barca are on another level entirely. However, their major rivals are also starting to effectively utilize their own academy, La Fabrica, but in a very different capacity. Nico Paz is a great example. When he first broke into the senior team at Madrid, opportunities were limited in that number 10 role behind the likes of Bellingham, Gula and Diaz, so Paz sought regular football elsewhere, and Madrid were happy to let him go at the time for just 6 million euros. Fast forward to today, he's now valued at 65 million. You'd think Madrid dropped the ball letting him leave dirt cheap like that, except they didn't, because when he departed, Madrid incorporated multiple assurance policies into his contract with Como, including 3 separate buyback clauses. So this summer, they could sign him back for just 9 million euros, which is an absolute bargain. But it gets better. Let's say for whatever reason, they don't want to sign him back. They also retain a 50% sell-on clause. So either way, it's a win-win. Granted, this isn't the first time Madrid have implemented this on a La Fabrica Academy graduate. Dani Carvajal, a Madrid legend, they initially sold him to Leverkusen dirt cheap. His value went up significantly in the Bundesliga, and they bought him back the following year for a modest fee. A similar thing happened with Morata. They immediately bought him back and then sold him to Chelsea for double what they paid. There's been several other recent examples, and this strategy isn't exclusive to Real Madrid either. PSG, for instance, did something similar with Xavi Simons a year ago. Madrid, however, have turbocharged this philosophy in the past year or so, and it has paid off big time. Last summer, they let 16 RM Castilla players leave, either for free or dirt cheap fees. However, the majority of players sold incorporated identical deal structures. They sold Jacobo Ramon, Victor Munoz, Kema Andres, and Alvaro Rodriguez. A year later, and these players' values have all gone up massively. Ramon is one of the Serie A's best young defenders. Same thing with Munoz in La Liga. He could also play a big role at this year's World Cup for Spain, and Kema Andres is showing a lot of promise in Stuttgart. It seems inevitable that Madrid will look to bring them back in the next year or so, but if they don't, they'll just make enormous profits instead. A phenomenal strategy. Moving to the Eredivisie, and this is one of the most bizarre stories I've ever read, with a passport gate scandal plunging Dutch football into chaos, with the possibility that more than 100 matches across the Eredivisie and wider Dutch football pyramid could be forced to be replayed. Now, this crisis stems from confusion over player eligibility linked to dual nationality rules under Dutch law. In the Netherlands, citizenship law is very strict. In most cases, Dutch nationals who voluntarily acquire a second nationality automatically lose their Dutch passport. That detail is crucial from a footballing perspective, right? Players holding Dutch citizenship are treated as EU players, meaning clubs can register them freely. But if that Dutch nationality is lost, they are reclassified as non-EU players. Additionally, non-EU players must earn a significantly higher minimum salary to be eligible to play, designed to protect domestic talent and prevent cheap foreign recruitment. But this role comes at the same time that a lot of formerly Dutch players have suddenly committed to other countries based outside of Europe. Many players playing in the Eredivisie have ancestral ties to former Dutch colonies, countries like Indonesia, Suriname, and Cabo Verde, for instance. This issue went unnoticed for the entire 25-26 season until, ironically, a prominent Dutch podcast brought it up in a casual manner. A day after NAC Breda lost 6-0 to the go-ahead Eagles, one of the podcast pundits suggests Breda could still win this game as the Eagles fielded an ineligible player in Dean James, who had just committed to represent Indonesia. NAC Breda then officially complained to the Dutch FA about this issue, which has since sparked a legal crisis that will go to the Dutch courts, as it's proven to be a league-wide systemic issue. It's gotten to the point where cases are now being flagged in the second tier of Dutch football. Do you understand how insane that is? 133 games within Dutch football reportedly have this issue. You can't just reschedule that on a whim. This could literally collapse the entire season. I've never seen anything like it at the professional level. And to think it all unfolded from a lighthearted comment on a Dutch podcast is just crazy work. Speaking of crazy, and Major League Soccer is actively exploring the possibility of relocating Vancouver Whitecaps to another city. Now, the league has not seen a franchise relocation since 2006, when the San Jose Earthquakes moved to Houston to become the Dynamo. San Jose was then awarded an expansion team, and the Earthquakes returned in 2008. But what makes this situation so absurd is that they're not looking to simply relocate elsewhere in Canada. That's bad enough. No, they're actively looking to move the Whitecaps to the United States in Las Vegas. Other cities such as Phoenix, Indianapolis, and Sacramento have also expressed interest, but Vegas is currently viewed as the most advanced option. Any move would likely involve a combined sale and relocation package exceeding the $500 million benchmark set by San Diego's expansion fee. Now, the core issue with Vancouver right now is economic viability, despite sitting second in their conference currently. Having reached the MLS Cup last season alongside winning 3 straight Canadian championships, the club's seriously struggling to make money. They draw around 20,000 fans per game on average, yet receive only 12% of ticket revenue. So they're the least profitable team in MLS. Additionally, the Whitecaps' lease at their current stadium expires at the end of 2026. There's been talks over a new stadium at Hastings Park for almost 2 years now, but no deal has been struck, and more concerningly, no ownership group has committed to keeping the club locally either. In the meantime, fan resistance is growing. A Save the Caps movement has kicked off, echoing the successful campaign that prevented the Columbus Crews relocation back in 2019. That movement is now gaining traction all across the city of Vancouver. So yeah, that's where we're at today. I absolutely despise the concept of franchise relocation. American football, or should I say soccer, will never be taken seriously as long as something like this is even remotely plausible. This club has existed since 1974, well before MLS was even a concept. To throw away over half a century's worth of history, technically Canada's most decorated football club, all for the sake of profit, is just abhorrent stuff. Anyways guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you tomorrow.